Hey Peyton, nice to see you again on this beautiful day. This time with a quote by Mark Andreessen. He says in his blog post about luck that luck is something that every successful entrepreneur will tell you plays a huge role in the difference between success and failure. And he rambles on and on and on in his blog, but essentially he writes about four kinds of luck. I will shortly introduce you to the four kinds of luck. And luck number one, it's pure blind luck that occurs without any effort or intention. Luck number two is luck that arises from motion and activity, suggesting that keeping busy stirs up opportunities by causing random ideas to collide. Luck number three is luck that favors the prepared mind, like Louis Pasteur when he discovered antibiotics. He was prepared to discover something, so he had the luck of the prepared mind. And luck number four is luck that is influenced by personal behaviors and eccentricities where unique personal actions subtly prompt fortunate outcomes. So that luck, like light, and you are the lens which focuses the light, so that creates through your character. What do you think about it, Peyton? And maybe you have some other quotes on that one.
Yeah, what an awesome topic. And you mentioned something prior to us recording about, I think also an Andreessen quote that many entrepreneurs only admit the importance of luck under duress. And this is definitely something that I could relate to from early on in my journey. When things go well, oh man, I'm so great, and when things go poorly, oh my God, I'm so unlucky. And it is fascinating how much of what goes on in the world is outside of our control. And ultimately, that points to the huge magnitude of luck. And this pervades far more than just the short term cause and effect of our decisions, obviously. You and me, are incredibly lucky that we were born with healthy minds and bodies to families that were together and largely functional in countries that are developed where the baseline is not survival from starvation, but rather the baseline was 12 years of education, maybe more, and afterwards opportunities with careers and jobs or whatever that could suit our talents and enable us to use our gifts, and also open doors to asymmetric bets and scalable opportunities down the line, and various pursuits, optionalities, freedom from war and chaos, at least where we live, and thousands of other forms of quotidian good fortune that have blessed us along the way and really been the necessary foundation and baseline for the prosperity that we enjoy and the opportunities that we can pursue, even those that on the surface we are manifesting or earning through intense labor, sacrifice, pain, and taking risks. And this luck applies from the very beginning. Of course, we did not choose our genes, which led to our health or lack thereof, our level of intelligence, our personality, even the degree of conscientiousness that we have that we can bring to the various pursuits of our life are largely a function of, or entirely a function of, our nature and our nurture. We didn't choose the things that we want. We might choose or we might make decisions in pursuit of our desires, but where did those desires originally come from? Can we ultimately account for the origin of the things that we're chasing after and the decisions that we make? Are we truly upstream from the reasons why we desire what we desire? Or is this just the happenstance collision of circumstances in our life reacting with the neurochemistry in our skulls? And ultimately, this luck is so pervasive within and without, and that various forms of it really do rule the passage of our life in many ways, even when we think that it is our immediate efforts that are manifesting certain results. And on some level, at a simple way, if we're not looking and double clicking into the nature of things, we kind of do see that if I go and pull up my phone and order some groceries and groceries arrive at my house, that, okay, yes, some cause and effect occurred there, and some action that I deliberately took led to a result that I was intending to get successfully. And a lot of things, of course, in our career and pursuits and creativity and etc. operate like that, where we see a cause and effect that is born of some intention that we have and some action that we take based on it. We might take some sacrifice or risk in pursuit of that, and we get some outcome that we intended to have, and we think that on some level we were in control of what happened. But were we in control of a nuke not getting dropped on Washington, D.C. yesterday? Were we in control of not getting some horrific disease at birth? Were we in control of not getting in a car accident on my way home from Maryland today? Was I in control of where I was born, what country I was born in, what year I was born? Was I in control of what family I was born into, and whether or not I would get abused as a child, which I wasn't? Was I in control of the patterns I was born into, the city I was born into, the language that I speak from birth? No. I wasn't in control of almost all of the things that led to the place where I am right now, including not being in control, ultimately, of the things that led to most of the deliberate decisions that I've made in my life, or all. Like, why did I intend the things that I intended? Why did I want the things that I wanted? Who gave me my tastes, except for my nature reacting with my nurture, the circumstances of my life, the people that I've encountered and the ways that they've influenced me, the good and bad experience that I've had. So much of the universe is dependent on the sands of fate, on the playing out of this crazy, interconnected, unpredictable set of circumstances with these dice rolls going on, even at a quantum level, all throughout the universe. And just like that, and with pretty much no exceptions, the course of our life is determined by things that are invisibly, and sometimes visibly, outside of our ultimate control, outside of our ultimate us being upstream of everything and being able to pull all the strings and manipulate exactly where our life plays out. It doesn't work like that. And so luck, obviously, determines a lot of things in our life, but especially, or I guess one of these arenas is that of the pursuit of various goals, various industrious, entrepreneurial, or creative pursuits that we may have, and the fruits that we seek from them. And these four types of luck that Mark Andreessen talks about are an interesting way to think about the ways that the actions that we take, the movements that we create in our life, and the sacrifices that we make, or the risks and pains that we can stomach, do influence the way that luck plays out in our life. Obviously, we can understand that if you don't play the lottery, you're not going to win the lottery. And so it's intuitive to many people, these forms of luck, these games that we can play, do introduce some forms of luck in our lives. And obviously the lottery is a bad game to play that, when repeated many times, will have an expected value of a less prosperous and less happy life. And ironically, even a less happy life for those who win by crazy chance. But many of the other things in our life, when we see a quote-unquote lucky entrepreneur, we might be fooled into jumping to the conclusion that he or she had nothing to do with that luck. And that just because something is a happenstance occurrence that led to asymmetric results, that was an incredible windfall of good fortune, that it does not preclude the possibility that that good fortune was manifested, or the probability was drastically increased by deliberate decisions that somebody took in their lives, whether or not it was with the intention of running into this particular occurrence, whether or not this particular opportunity was foreseen. But, for example, I have a friend who is one of the most gifted human connectors I've ever met. He has a ton of really deep, rich relationships with intelligent, thoughtful, successful people that are on steep trajectories. And he has a unique knack for forming sincere, good connections with people that are based on trust and shared values. And these people that he gravitates toward, that gravitate toward him, are on very impressive trajectories. They're very intelligent, very industrious, conscientious, and creative individuals. And it is certain in my mind that his network that he's nurturing and planting seeds for, without knowing exactly what will lead to what over the course of decades, with long-term mindsets that he brings to this, will lead to an extremely high yield in unexpected places in his life down the line. Because when these people are owning large companies, when these people are running large organizations, when these people are moving and shaking the world in 10 years, and that is the trajectory a lot of these men are on that he's close with, he will absolutely be in a position of trust and opportunity with these people that will yield great results that are formed on the basis of sincere connections that he's fostered, nurtured, and grown over the course of a very long amount of time. And in many other forms too, I see people that are fostering skills. I see people that are developing themselves. I see people that are taking sacrifices. And perhaps above all, some people are taking on risk and skin in the game, which is what enables them to capture and capitalize on the luck and opportunities that arise. If you have an amazing thing present itself toward you, but you don't act on it, and you don't have the conviction to know that this is a good opportunity, or the courage to take on risk to pursue this and bet on yourself and risk failure, risk regret, risk bad luck, and increasing your surface area for bad luck, then these asymmetric bets, these opportunities that can yield far more than you have at stake and that have great probabilities of changing the course of your life, will not come to fruition, and they will be pearls before swine in front of somebody that lacks the courage to pursue them and the conviction to understand what is in front of them, or the knowledge to see what is in front of them. And so luck is not something that we are helplessly bound to on some level, or at least in the sense of that our actions don't lead to a difference in our luck. But ironically, it is ultimately what guides and dictates much of the passing of events in our lives. And so our relationship with luck should be much more nuanced than saying, oh, luck doesn't exist. Luck had nothing to do with my success as an entrepreneur or as this or that or as a creative or as whatever. That's obviously foolish. But at the same time, it's also foolish to say, oh, that person was just lucky. If I was lucky, then I would be in the same circumstance, and he had nothing to do with that opportunity that is in front of him or what he has turned it into because he is lucky. If I have not actually put myself out there in the same way, if I have not pursued the opportunities that rose in front of me, or if I did not cultivate the discernment and judgment and clarity of thought in order to recognize when good luck did appear in front of me, we might have been completely blind to 5 great opportunities that arose, or lacked the clarity or conviction to pursue them, and in which case that potential for good luck is completely wasted on us. And so a more nuanced understanding and a clear vision for the ways that luck impacts us and the ways that we impact luck can be a very powerful framework to bring to bear on an increasingly dynamic and an increasingly asymmetric and compounding world and economy and environment and opportunity set that presents itself to us. So fascinating thought. I'd be really curious to hear about the ways that you think about manifesting luck and how those strings pull us and how we in turn can pull on those strings.
Oh, Peyton, what a train of thought, man. You mentioned so many great things that point to all these different kinds of luck, and also mentioned that so much is out of our control, where we are born, where we have been born, or in which kind of family we have been born. So that also triggered the thought of, man, I'm so grateful for having been born in such great and loving and caring environments. And it hints to that the environment matters so much on how our initial circumstances can be built up upon these circumstances. So, and that also triggers the thought of kindness towards people who had trauma in their lives and so on, and now have a different kind of struggle than people who have a loving foundation in their family. So this is very important to say that there needs to be more kindness towards people who struggle in the world, and not like cold-heartedness towards them. So everybody has their story and philosophy. Their own philosophy mostly is like an outcome of their own autobiographical experiences. And so I think we need more kindness in the world. So I'm grateful for being in such a loving and lucky kind of circumstances. And also you mentioned that there is this kind of surface area of luck. And when you have a good foundation, then you were born with some kind of fisher net where the luck fishies can going to the fishing net, and you, through your skills, can also prepare yourself to throw out the fishing net in like ponds where there are really the fish which you can catch. So this kind of skill set is also something very developable. You can learn where to fish. You can learn how to throw out a fishing net. You can be industrious and throw out the fishing net multiple times. You can even increase the surface area of your fishing net and invest in that. So there's tremendous opportunity to steer the pot. And this points towards the second kind of luck, that hustle until you stumble upon it. Like, throw out your net so often that someday there will be a fish inside, and you can ask clients for business, whatever. If you have a rejection goal list where you have like the goal to at least collect 20 rejections as a salesman, and if you don't match that number, you haven't made enough calls. But along the way, collecting these rejections, you eventually will meet a customer who wants to buy the product, who's a perfect fit for your product you have or for the service that you have. And this also can point towards the metaphor of being a gardener of your own skills or of your own circumstances, of your own circle of friends or like hobbies you engage in, and of your own habits of generosity, for example. So if you are generous and expect generosity from others as well, that is a system that works in the long term, because if you grow alongside with each other, and from time to time you will have something very valuable for the other person, and the other person will from time to time have something very valuable to share for you. And this is a back and forth which enriches everybody, because it's like a positive sum game, because in the moment the other party needs it, you maybe don't need it. So you create value just through different kinds of timing, and through your generosity you bound together. And then this is a kind of a brand you develop for yourself, which also points other people towards you. Oh, this person has this positive characteristics. This is more likely to do good business with him or with her. And therefore, through your generous habits, for example, you develop a totally different reputation which follows you around, and therefore as well makes people more likely to behave in a generous way with you and are open for that. And that is another kind of luck which comes to mind. It's a fifth kind of luck. It's a who luck. It's who do you know, or who knows you. Because sometimes there is this beautiful mechanism of connection when you meet a person, but the person knows someone who has exactly the solution to your problem, and then you can think, how lucky is that? So this is kind of a mashup of the other kinds of luck. But you are in control of your own habits, and this is definitely not something out of your control. And if you garden your habit, if you are the gardener of your habits, these habits can create some higher order consequences, which generates even more luck for you, which widens the surface area of your fishing net, where you try to catch some luck as well. And this is also a hint you gave, is that environment matters so much. We haven't chosen where we have been born, but obviously it played into our cards being born in developed countries and having everything we needed, and having education which is basically free, and having connections, and having a good social structure, rule of law, and so on. And not only the bigger kind of environment matters, but also which people you meet day to day. Are they bright people, and are they very interesting people with many different thoughts and ideas? Are they curious minds? What kind of mindset do they have? And this is also a hint to that the five chimp theory sometimes work, because you can say about yourself, okay, you can take five friends who you meet all the time and take the average of their mindset, and this mostly fits then to your mindset. So make sure you more often than not meet curious minded people, and people with a growth mindset, people with ideas and with like a positive outlook on things, and with a rational mind and an optimistic mind, who don't play like status games and put other people down just to raise their own self-worth, but who play like long-term positive sum games where they try to create something together, try to have a great community together, be generous towards each other, and therefore create like this upward spiral of positivity, which like is a, maybe you can describe it as a tornado of luck, which sucks in all the luck and then distributes it to the people who are steering up the tornado, so to say. What do you think about these metaphors, or what kind of thoughts did
Yeah,
these
I
metaphors trigger?
love yeah, I love the image of being a gardener of luck, a gardener of our relationships, because it points to a fast like a deeply true relationship that we have with these things, that a gardener doesn't actually like handcraft an ear of corn or a tomato plant or something. He acquires the ingredients for certain things to arise. He manifests the conditions for certain things to arise. He monitors how things are going and responds and reacts accordingly with the real world information that he receives. There's some planning and visioning that goes into it. And then there's a collision with uh, the real life occurrence of events, whether or not it's raining, whether or not there's pests that are coming in, whether or not deer are coming in and eating his plants and he needs to plant marigolds, or whatever the case may be. Having this understanding that we are a gardener of our own luck is useful, because on one hand, there's a degree to which we can turn these knobs and we can increase our luck surface area in ways that are advantageous and decrease the bad luck surface area in ways that we want to guard from risk. And at the same time, we can recognize how incredibly powerful luck is, and how luck is even an overwhelming force above and beyond what we can just plan out and just perfectly manifest in a vacuum if we're not actually reacting to real life. Luck will overpower us if we're not flexible and responsive to the playing of events. We can see how, for example, black swans throughout history, including in recent years, have tanked people who weren't prepared for the unexpected. And we also can see how you literally cannot predict black swans. The nature of black swans is that they're an overwhelming tidal wave that comes out of absolutely nowhere, that you can't anticipate and plan for specifically, but you can plan for and anticipate the category of a black swan period, something that is going to be suddenly disrupted. It's almost guaranteed that at probably every decade for the rest of our life, something totally unexpected is going to shake the entire world. It just happens that way. And we've seen that happen and take tons of different forms over the past centuries. And it's happening more and more frequently. And the world is more and more interconnected and more fragile. And so we can absolutely know that these forms of insane luck, so to speak, will play out in extreme ways and very disruptive ways in the future. And we want to be anti-fragile and resilient to what happens. But we can't have the mindset that we should try to specifically predict exactly what's going to happen next. Not many people specifically predicted COVID, the World Trade Center thing, whatever, tons of different black swans that have arisen over the course of our lifetimes and the past couple of generations. But those who were prepared for various changes in circumstances, extreme volatility, were gardeners of that form of luck through anti-fragility. And the alternative to this, because we can see it's undeniable how powerful of a force luck is, if we try to blind ourselves to that, if we try to say that, oh yeah, everything I've done is not because of luck, it's because I'm so great. Then when something absolutely knocks us off our ass that we weren't expecting, and now all of a sudden we're forced to reckon with the overwhelming power of circumstances over our lives, and in hindsight, how it had that power for the past 10 years when it was actually going well, I did not admit to myself or others that this was good luck, then we are fragile in this sense. It absolutely overturns our identity and cracks us and shatters us, and we have all this form of cognitive dissonance, and now we have to re-reckon with where we're at and how things work, because we didn't admit to ourselves that when things were going well, it wasn't because I was just some great omnipotent genius. It was because I did some things that were within my control, and I was a gardener of my circumstances and luck. And if we fall for our own sort of self-ascribed delusional sense of omnipotence, then we're going to try to control everything in the future. Things are going to be still outside of our control, no matter how hard we try to grab onto it. We're just going to give ourselves more and more rope burn. We're going to suffer a lot, and actually we're going to be less aware to the changing of circumstances, less perceptive to new opportunities that arise that have tons of great potential for us because it wasn't what was in our original plan. We're going to be unaware of these enormous risks that emerge in the world due to changes in technology, changes in circumstances, sudden arising movements and decisions that people make that have a ton of power to move and shift in a certain direction, and the unforeseen second and third order consequences of that. And if we have this mindset that, oh yeah, I'm in control, I can control everything, I can predict all that's going to happen, we are really going to get in our own way. And I've seen myself get in my own way in this way. I've seen a lot of people get in their own way. And having some degree of flexibility and a recognition that we don't have all the power over how things go, and that we are kind of gardeners of our fate, but not necessarily absolute omnipotent gods of our fate, that can lead us to have a much more productive relationship with a lot of this. You also pointed to the gratitude that we can find in a recognition of how many forms of bad luck we are spared on a daily basis. I can look down and see that I have 10 fingers, and how grateful am I to have 10 fingers? How often do I remember to be grateful that I have 10 fingers and 2 eyeballs that work, and a mouth that can speak, and 2 ears that function, and all 4 of my limbs, and I can move around and walk around completely effortless and enjoy doing so, and enjoy a sunny day when I walk around? How about the fact that I'm not living in a war zone? I don't have to cower from bombs. I don't have PTSD, and I don't have to go fight in a war. I don't have to go kill people. I don't have to endure 10 years of being under a strict rule of some military hierarchy for some cause that has nothing to do with my own life and prosperity, that might even be for somebody else's greed for power. How fortunate am I that I was not born 500 years ago into some plague in Europe, or some plague that Europe brought to the Aztecs, or some horrible catastrophe that honestly a lot of our species has been forced to exist within due to causes and conditions that they had nothing to do with for most of the history of mankind since we invented farming. A lot of it sucked. A lot of life was really hard and brutal for a lot of people since the beginning of human language and civilization. And we've been spared an immense amount of that. And every day when I drive home and don't have a tree fall in my car, I am fortunate for that reason. Every day when I don't get cancer, I am fortunate for that reason. I have 2 friends this year that got cancer due to nothing that was their fault. And it was just a surprise that came out of nowhere. And that didn't happen to me. And it totally could have. There's all these forms of bad luck and bad luck surface area that, whether or not we choose to acknowledge it, is ever present in our entire existence, and is ultimately looming over us with this constant roll of the dice of our biology and of our civilization and of our interconnected world, and these insane risks and volatility that are hidden within it. And our relationship with this is so ever present. It's something that we're tempted to blind ourselves toward, and it's incredibly powerful. And one other point that I wanted to respond to that you pointed out is this 4th form of luck. This form of luck that Naval Ravikant says becomes and gradually approaches destiny. And obviously, notwithstanding all these forms of asymmetric risks and black swans, et cetera, there is a degree to which we can have more and more control over or be more and more effective gardeners over our luck, and in trying to create opportunity for it to arise, and then once it does, for us to capitalize on it. And that does come down to unique ability and cultivating a discernment, a judgment, and more, a unique set of skills or overlapping set of skills that can put us in a position to create, find, and manifest opportunities in our life on a more and more reliable basis once we get more and more skilled at this form of gardening. And one quote from Scott Adams that I have pulled up that I think is a fairly useful framework that I find relevant to this is about stacking skills and about how if you want to make it to the top of swimming and be Michael Phelps, you have to be a 1 in 8 billion, and it's really hard to be that. And you have to have this perfect physiology, and you have to train for it, and then dedicate your whole life to this, and blah blah blah. But actually, a much more reliable path for most of us who aren't born superhuman is to acquire two skills that don't tend to overlap, but which are powerful or useful or unique once they are combined with each other. So he says, the first thing you need to know is that everyone is good at something. The second thing you need to know is that the value of stacking skills goes up exponentially as you add more skills. You don't need world-class talent in any one thing if you can develop good enough skill levels in a powerful combination of things. And so, for example, Naval Ravikant talks about how, hey, if you lost everything and you just dropped him off, nobody knew who he was in a different body, different name, but he had the skills that he had, and he was in an English-speaking country, he could probably become wealthy within a matter of 5 years, something like that, because he has this unique combination of skills within his brain. And he has his, which have to do with tech and judgment and leverage and investing and coding and that side of things. In my life, the combination is I have a decent level of blue collar knowledge. I have a decent amount of marketing knowledge. I have a decent amount of general finance business strategy acumen. I'm not 1 in a million in any of these things. And in the blue collar trade side of things, I'm probably 80th or 90th percentile, but not even 95th. And but yet at the same time, these things are rare to combine, especially putting the business things with the blue collar construction, masonry skill set. And the combination of these things means that if I ever did have to restart, who knows what could happen, blah, blah, blah. There's still luck, of course, involved in this. That could get in my way. But I do have a reason to believe that I could probably start from scratch in Switzerland if I needed to, with very little resources, and build it all back within a matter of 3 to 5 years, because I have an ability now to understand how to create a sweaty startup from scratch within construction or similar fields. And those sets of skill sets ultimately are stuff that's an opportunity for many of us if we come up with complementary and rare stacks of skills without needing to be 99.99999 percentile in any of these things, like we would have to be if we were going to succeed on just a one-legged stool. But by creating this combination where it's, okay, a 1 in 10 times 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 a 1 in 10, all of a sudden is 1 in 100,000 or 1 in a million or whatever that, I forget how many 1 in 10s I put out there, but it becomes really rare when you stack these things. And that rarity can lead to predictable, manifestable outcomes and ways that we can cultivate our luck and be more and more and more of a skilled gardener of our path and the things that we can create within it. So, anyways, a lot of dumps around luck here, and the ways that we can foster it within our lives, and the ways that no matter how skilled we get at fostering it, will still have this looming power over us. And the last, sorry to dump another concept here, but the last thing that I'll mention is that the right way to play the luck game is very different depending on what stage in the game we're at. When we are 20 and just starting out and we have no resources, then the first thing that we can do is just sprint around in circles and talk to 100 people or 1,000 people and just try to bump into luck, try to increase our surface area before we have the years and years and years to invest in cultivating these skill sets, cultivating our judgment, cultivating unique and specific knowledge and abilities. That becomes we just want to bump into some good opportunities and be fortunate enough and courageous enough to jump on them when they do early on. And then as we get further along, we can have some more reps that lead to judgment that can give us clarity on, oh, wow, this is a really good opportunity that is now in front of me, that is here because of this large surface area, and I have the conviction to pursue it and to put a lot of skin in the game and not over-diversify away from it, but really have the courage to say, oh yeah, I'm betting on this horse, and when this horse succeeds, I'm really going to succeed from it. And then later on, we can stack skill sets and get better at it. And once we have more and more secure foundation and abundance and prosperity from utilizing these early game strategies, then a lot of the game actually shifts toward how do we avoid bad luck, or more realistically, how do we diversify or shield or multiply out or create barriers between various things that we have and systems that we have set up, such that when inevitably bad luck tanks this thing that I'm doing over here, I've still got this thing over here that's going to be fine, and I'm not going to get reset all the way to zero. Because if you reset all the way to zero, then you have a much lower chance of capitalizing on future opportunities. It's hard to go from 0 back to 1, but if you only get reset halfway, then you're really going to be fine. And so the shielding ourselves from the worst form of absolute reset or death, and that ergodicity factor, and that recognition that luck is still so powerful that I really need to shift and move and allocate and set up my whole thing such that I'm not actually going to get absolutely murdered by something happening outside of my control. That all of a sudden becomes a very important part of the strategy in the late game. And so the right relationship with these things, the right way to be a skilled gardener, is totally different depending on where we are at in our path with whatever we're trying to manifest for ourselves. So that kind of gave you a lot there, man. But feel free to respond. I'm curious to hear your reactions and other thoughts around these things.
Well, I love your thoughts, man. I love this. I respond with a quote from Benjamin Disraeli, where he says that we make our fortunes and we call them fate. So we obviously have the ability to steer our fate in some directions. We do not have like whole control over it, but we have the ability over it. Like you stated as well, we can avoid stepping on a fragile frozen lake and drown when we have the judgment that we develop through careful observation and through common sense and so on, or through like theories that we train ourselves in. And also decoupling your investments so that you won't be reset to zero is obviously a great concept. And where Charlie Munger comes to mind, where he says, okay, tell me, well, I want to know where I'm going to die, and I will never go there. So know where these potential risks are, and then prepare yourself and avoid these downfalls. I believe the greatest entrepreneurs like Richard Branson and so on, or Steve Jobs are, or have been, like risk mitigators. They really work their asses off to identify every possible risk and every potential failure outcome, and try to do as much to avoid that this failure can happen. And if you have a set of potentialities which you diminish the risk of mishaps happening, then you have a higher probability of good luck finding you, of everything going as planned. And in military or in mountaineering, there's this saying, in the mountains, nothing goes as planned, or in military, there a plan never survives first contact with the enemy, you know? And this is the thing. Prepare yourself with basic methodologies and basic habits of reacting well, and in a way where you can like take in everything that is surrounding you and observe it, then judge what is the next best step, and then act again, and then cycle through this complexity which arises. So there's obviously a skill set which helps you to thrive in the midst of chaos, where you can like observe and take in, gain insights, and then adapt what you do, and steer in another direction to avoid enemy fire, or to avoid the rainy storm or the thunderstorm which is coming up in the mountains, or whatever. And this is also a great idea to have the basic skill sets and the basic knowledge, and combine these in the different circumstances, so that you gain a real big upside just through following the basics of certain fields, combined in the situations where you find yourself in. Like you quoted Scott Adams, that you can gain a powerful combination of things that are uniquely you and unique about you, and things that you have developed through your curious mind and your curiosity, where you have become uniquely skilled at, like you, in your case, finance and masonry. And if you combine these things and combine that with your judgment and your long-term view and your senses for ergodic processes and the avoidance of certain kinds of risks, then you probably will fare very fine in the long run. Not the highest and maximum outcomes, because these are the people who are more likely to be crazy and bet everything on red and bet everything on red and bet everything on red. Yeah, they can have their lucky streak, but this is relying on the first kind of luck, which is dumb luck. So, but if you put systems in place where you really try to mitigate the risk, where you really try to decouple some kinds of investments and also skill sets, so that when failure hits, or when the unknowns hit, or the black swans, so to say, that you're in a position where you're not 100% fragile towards these things nobody knows and you don't know, but put yourself in a position where you have a clear mind, where you can see the machinations and theorize about them, so that you can see the opportunities which arise, so you can like conquer these opportunities, or like bet on these opportunities, or steer the pot, or throw the dice. And this is the thing, if you want to throw a dice and badly want to have like a 3 or a 6, then you just have to throw the dice enough times so that you eventually get a 6 or a 3 or whatever you want. Our time is limited, so we better decide which kind of number we want. And the faces of the dice are also not as limited as the dice we play with in games. But this is a game we play in a sense. We combine our uniqueness and try to find what is unique about ourselves, and then try to make these unique traits productive in a way that gives us levers. And through the internet, and we are living in a time right now which is unprecedented. Everything is so highly connected. And with the internet, this connection device, like the network of everything, we now have the ability to find these markets which are suitable to the unique combination of our skill sets, which really value these kind of outputs we give highly. So there's this opportunity, and we obviously can make use of these levers we have in our hands, so that we can gain powerful combinations of our skills. And also, like you said, the first phase is experiment. So you find out what is unique about you. Experiment a lot. Run around in circles and talk to thousands of people. And then try thousands of things. Try to play guitar. Try to make art. Try to read into technology and build something. Try to go into electrical engineering. Try to learn how to code. Try to prompt engineer nowadays. Like just do stuff and just explore. And then you realize and recognize what is unique about you. And then find out what works for you, find what is unique about you, and try different combinations and permutate through the combinations of the things which are interesting to you, which you are curious about. Because no one can replace you. We are unique, and therefore we can make our uniqueness shine, And when we can do that, we are uniquely suited for a thing we want to bring into the world. And this is the ultimate game, in my opinion, to really cultivate what is unique about ourselves and try to make it productive, try to give back to society, because obviously we are standing on the shoulders of giants. Everything around us is built by somebody. Everything around us has been created by someone. with an idea in mind, with some skills in the hands, and with some resources at hand. And we now can use it just like that. We just can use the train. We can sit in our car. We can drive around. We can phone, and we don't even recognize what is happening in the background. What kind of systems have been set in place? Like kings 500 years ago hadn't this kind of wealth we have now. Even as a poor person, a king would have been more powerful for sure, but would have been not more wealthy than we are nowadays. So we can give back to society with our uniqueness. And if we can manage to find out what is unique about us, we can be more flexible. We can find opportunities which are suited to our skills and strengths. And then we can move the world with the lever we have in hand, at least a little bit, a little tiny bit, and at least give a smile, give some kindness or friendly words to other people, or be generous towards people who have less, or have, or even on Mother's Day call our mother. Maybe that is also some way to give back. Any
No
closing
doubt.
thoughts?
Wonderful thoughts, my man. Yeah, I'm just reminded once again how there's certain areas of my life that I'm seeing this already, that I'm applying it, that I'm being intentional about being a gardener of my luck. And then there's other domains of my life that I totally have an opportunity to apply a more intentional, clear mindset about the power of luck and the things that can be done to manifest it that are within my control. So I appreciate you reminding me of many of these things. This is such an ever-present reality and powerful force in our world in all kinds of ways, and certainly in our life that we can see in the past and absolutely can anticipate in the future. So super relevant, very interesting thoughts, stimulating conversation. I appreciate you sharing your ideas on this, and feeling very excited about just seeing this more clearly and applying it to more and more dimensions of my life and journey.
Yeah, may we cultivate what is unique about ourselves. May we widen the surface area of luck so that it can find us even better. May we have a lucky week, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate
let's
you,
get
man.
gardening.
Thanks for sharing your
Cheers.
thoughts.
Yep. See you next week, man. Appreciate it.
See you next week.